And really the story for this began in 2008. 2008, I was on holidays in Sardinia with my wife and my two boys. They were quite young at the time. They were probably about 4 and 7. So Sardinia is a beautiful island, but in the summer it gets very hot. Has anybody ever been in that part of the world during the summer? It's a beautiful island. So eventually, as with all small children, they fall asleep because they're bored. So they fall asleep. So there's just me and my wife, and we're driving along in these wonderful roads, and there's this blissful silence between myself and my wife. Now, any married man in the audience will tell you that whenever there's a blissful silence between you and your wife, it means one thing and one thing only: trouble. Guaranteed. Okay? So out of the corner of just out of nowhere, my wife turns around and she says, "Sean," she says, "what one word would your clients use to describe you?" And I go, where did that come from? We're on holidays. What kind of a question is that? So if you ever meet my wife, you'll realize she's not a woman that you want to keep waiting. So I'm looking for an answer. I'm going, okay, oh God, an engineer, naval officer, a psychotherapist, professional. I'm professional. And happy that I was able to answer the question, I went back to enjoying the view. To be greeted a few moments later by the comment, "Yeah, just not very personable." Anyway, after the divorce was finalized, I got thinking about what she said. And you know, she was absolutely right. I was trained to be a professional. I was trained to be technically brilliant at what I do. Whatever it is, just as you are. You're all technical experts. But in the last 8 years, the world has changed significantly. And what's happened is that it's no longer enough to be technically intelligent. It's no longer enough to know what you do. What matters now is how emotionally intelligent are you. Do I know you? Do I like you? And most importantly, can I trust you is what matters today. So what matters now is not about being technically smart. What matters now is about being relationship smart. How powerful you are at affecting relationships, influencing relationships, and driving relationships through your relationship smarts, not your technical smart. Here's why. Because if I don't know you, I don't like you, and I don't trust you, I won't allow you to use your technical knowledge. And it also comes to another point. Back in 2006, Harvard Business Review said that the world of sales, or business development, or client engagement, or any word that you wish to use, has changed forever. What happened in 2006 was the internet became mobile. We can access the internet on our mobile phones. And at that moment, the whole dynamics of the client engagement process, the whole dynamic of going out and getting clients changed. Because in the past, we had what was called the sales cycle, which is where we took our brochures, our information, our knowledge, we took it out into the marketplace. We found clients, and sometimes we told clients that they had a need they didn't even realize themselves. And when they realized it, then they got involved in the buying process. The reality is now that if I want financial planning or I want financial services, the first place I will go to is Google. I'll search on the digital world first. Which means you have to build trust at 2 different levels. One, you've got to be able to build trust at a digital level. That means your LinkedIn profile. It means your website, how engaging it is. And that's not my area of expertise, but my area of expertise is the next stage, which is how we engage with people when we meet them. And the first and most important thing you need to understand, and I think most of us as professionals need to understand, that in today's world, we don't market a product and we don't market a service. What we market is a compelling experience. In other words, an experience that is so profound, so powerful, so all-engaging that the client will never go anywhere else except to us whenever they have that need. That's the quality of relationship we need to build today. Many of you will be familiar with the idea of a trusted advisor, but actually we have to go beyond trust because trust isn't enough anymore. Do you have relationships, for example, with people that you trust, you like, but you don't share everything with them? Have you got those kind of relationships? Again, communication's not telepathy. Do you have those kind of relationships? Yes. Excellent. But you also have the other kind of relationship, don't you? You know that relationship where you meet someone and you have such a level of trust that there's no restriction, no limitation, no hesitation in sharing everything with them and they do the same with you. Do you have those kind of relationships? Yes. Excellent. If you hadn't, come see me later for some deep therapy. So it's really important is to have those kind of relationships. So I talk about high trust. That's a high trust relationship. That's a relationship where you are on your client's speed dial. If they got an issue, there's only one person they call. And by the way, that's not a salesperson, it's an advisor. People are not looking for powerful experts anymore. What they're looking for are advisors who work with them on their level. And I thought Jimmy's presentation was incredibly powerful about the ability to use vulnerability or to accept vulnerability as a means of building powerful relationships. Absolutely compelling presentation in that how cultures that we consider more primitive than ours still are at the basis of engagement. So what I want to share with you are what are the key elements today when it comes to finding and keeping excellent clients. And by excellent clients, I mean clients that you want to do business with as well as they want to do business with you. Because a lot of us have what we call BMW clients. Now it's not that they drive BMWs, and I'm not sure if this translates very well into Dutch, but BMW stands for bitching, moaning, whinging individuals who take up all your time and give you very little fees for that. Do you have any such clients? Okay, well I'm going to show you how you can give them an opportunity to work with somebody else. Okay, and what you're going to do is go after the better clients. And there's three fundamental things you need to be able to do that. Now I've only a limited amount of time, so I want to work this through with you. The first is the critical thing in today's world, if you want to build new client engagement and new client relationships, is the ability to be able to get access to and hold the attention of individuals. You may notice it's getting harder and harder to get access to key decision makers and good quality clients. What you might find is that the telemarketing is no longer effective, email lead generation is no longer effective, and actually response rates of those are falling and falling all the time. There is only one means by which you can successfully get access to the people that you want to talk to, and that's through networking. The ability to be in the right room at the right place at the right time and know what you're doing to get access to the right people. I'm going to share some of those ideas with you in this session. The second thing is getting their attention. Do you know that scientists have proven that actually goldfish have a better span of attention than we do as humans? Apparently they can retain information for a week. I don't know what they retain for a week, but they can retain information for a week. Do you know how long it's estimated that the human span of attention is right now? 9 seconds. So in conclusion, I'd just like to say thank you for being here. No, just kidding. But attention is such a powerful thing. We have to learn how to get access and attention to the right people who are going to make a difference in our world. The second thing that we need to do is to be able to build this high trust, this rapport, this quality relationship where the barriers come down, where there's no obstacles between you and me, and where we can discuss freely and where I can be of service to you as a financial planner, as a financial advisor. Because that's fundamentally what our job is, if you think about it. It's about how can we be of service to people? How can we be dream enablers? How can we help them to live the lives that few people ever get a chance to live by utilizing the resources that they have? That's what you guys do. You're catalysts for dreams. That's a powerful thing. Very few jobs can actually say that's what they do. The last thing you need to be able to do is you need to be able to manage the meeting outcomes. And that means that when you're in the room with the right decision maker at the right time, how do you control the meeting? And how do you make presentations that hold and engage their attention? So really there are 7 steps to being a high trust advisor. The first of those steps is to understand a very important thing, and that is changing your messages. Cranfield University did some research and they indicated that 90% of our business decisions are emotionally based. 90%, ladies and gentlemen. And yet all of our messaging is incredibly logical. Makes perfect sense. The reality is nobody cares. It doesn't hold their attention. It doesn't even grab their attention. So what we have to do is we have to be able to shape and change our messages so that from this point forward, we no longer appeal just to logic, we appeal to the emotional depth within the individual. How do we do that? Well, how we do that is we realize that we no longer need to sell to the head, we have to sell to the heart. If I can get someone and grab their emotion, I will be able to influence their logical decisions. That's the reality. This is why I say we no longer sell a product or a service, we sell an experience. And everything about your business, from your brochures to your website, to your phone manner, to the way your staff engage with them, to the way you engage with them, to what you do when you're with them is all part of that experience. And if the experience is profound enough, they'll talk to more people about what you do for them. So, the first thing is your messaging. How many of you are familiar with the term USP, unique selling point? Hands up, how many of you are? Oh, good, most of you. Okay, so you all use unique selling points, so that'd be a fair comment. Okay? Okay, that's not a good thing. I'll tell you why. Because the thing about unique selling points is there's absolutely nothing unique about them. There's a good chance that if I canvass the room, every single one of you will have exactly the same unique selling points. That's how unique they are. So they're over. Now what we need to create, ladies and gentlemen, is we need to create what I call a PCOR. PCOR is a point of compelling relevance. Everything we have in order to grab the attention of a client needs to be absolutely relevant to them. And there's no way that happens if we use logical, generic USPs. We have to create emotionally compelling messages. How do we do that? Well, how do we do that is a very simple exercise. I want you to look at your USPs. Imagine yourself as a client when you say what your wonderful USP is. And then think about what they're thinking when they hear that. The only two questions they have in their mind is, so what? What does that do for me? Our USPs are never about the client, they're always about us. So one of the things you have to do is you've got to start looking at all your USPs, going through this exercise and crafting them in a way that makes them much more compelling and much more powerful. I'll give you a simple example of what I mean. Some of the firms I work with are professional services firms, like legal firms, for example, lawyers. And when I go into a legal firm and ask them, so tell me what your USP is. What's this unique selling point you have? The first thing lawyers will tell you is, well, we give you access to our partners. Hey, hey! And they think that's amazing, because they're lawyers. And then I ask the question, so what? What does that do for me? Because that's what the client is thinking, and they can't answer the question. But what happens if you work through the process, so what does that do for me? If you really take time to consider your messages, if you really start to think about how do I access the heart, not just the head, this is the response a lawyer gives. We help you make faster, more effective, more reliable business decisions because we give you access to our partners. That's a far more compelling message for the client because it tells them exactly what getting access to the partner does for them. That's all they're interested in. There's only four things ultimately that we sell, ladies and gentlemen. That is, we either save the client time, we save them money, we solve their problems, or we make them feel good. They're the four things. And everything you create about the business messaging you need to deliver for your clients needs to be based on one of those four things. Another example of a USP turned into a PCOR was a bank who brought their credit card team to the table. And I said, what's your USP? And they said, our credit card swipes twice as fast as anybody else's. Woohoo! High fives all around. They thought this was wonderful. And then I said, so what? What does that do for me? And they couldn't answer the question. So then I said, so what sort of clients do you deal with? And they said, high-end retail stores. I said, well, do you think if they're high-end retail stores, the value might be that you improve the customer experience by reducing queuing time by half because your credit card swipes twice as fast as anybody else? Or you improve the security of the transaction? You get the money in the bank faster because your credit card swipes twice as fast as anybody else? We are not looking at the issue from the client's perspective. So my challenge to you, ladies and gentlemen, is go back, look at your USPs, and ask yourself, so what? What does this do for me? And if you can do that, if you can truly do that, then you'll start to create points that are absolutely compelling and absolutely resonate with your clients. And that is the beginning of attention. It's no longer enough to sell to the head, we must sell to the heart. Manage the heart and you manage the head, that's the key.
Sure.
Question?
Yeah, where stands the R for?
I beg your pardon? The R?
The R, but
relevance. So points of compelling relevance. That's what we're looking at there. Okay? Good. Everybody okay with that? Second thing, networking. You want to get access to people, you want to get their attention, networking is the thing that you do. But the thing about networking is, it is probably, I love this bit about networking. Everybody thinks that everybody should go and just network. Like it's the most natural thing in the world. Let me tell you, networking in a room full of strangers is the single most unnatural act you will ever commit in public. At least, I hope it's the only unnatural act you ever commit in public, but then I don't know about your background. The reason is, I can tell you as a psychotherapist, the single biggest need in all human beings is to be accepted. What happens when you go into a room full of strangers? The chances are you're going to be rejected. Why would you willingly do that? So we tend to have a response, and what that response is, we back ourselves up against the wall. So we're perfectly safe and no one can take us from behind. And then what we do is we say to ourselves, if no one talks to me in the next 10 minutes, I am out of here. And we say, we put a limit on our own time. We say, if nobody talks to me, their fault, not mine. I'm out of here. The problem is, as soon as you leave the room, what you've just done is left millions of euros behind on the table because you didn't know how to connect. So in this brief session, I just want to share with you maybe a couple of simple things which will help you understand how to network effectively. And one of the biggest things is knowing that when you walk into the room, instead of looking at those massive people and go, oh my God, everybody seems to know everybody else except me, right? And then backing yourself up so you're safe and going through the 10-minute syndrome. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to read a room. So when you walk in the room, you can see exactly who you can approach and who you should leave alone. Would that be useful? Yeah? Again, communications, not telepathy. Would that be useful? Yes. Oh, good. Okay, because I was just going to ignore it if it wasn't. All right? Fine. So let me see. Can I get you four guys and you four people on stage, please? Come on up here, quick as you can, just to help me out. There you go. Fantastic. We're going networking, people. So just organize yourselves in a rough group, okay? Pretty rough-looking group anyway, I got to be honest. But fantastic, wonderful, great. Wow, this is brilliant. When was the last time you went networking and it looked like the cast of The Usual Suspects? Like, nobody networks like this, right? Nobody sort of all forms up in a big line and they just do their stuff, okay? Really, I mean, who does that, right? So what we'll do is let's show you how rooms actually organize themselves. So there we go, that gentleman's coming around. And can I bring you around here, sir, please? Perfect, wonderful, there. Now let's bring you three guys in here. No, you have to stay over there. Oh, that's good. Okay, fantastic. Now, what you're going to get whenever you walk into a room is you're always going to get a situation where you have this gentleman here. What's your first name? Pepe. So Pepe is here. He's on his own. And in English we use the term, he's a buster, no mates. He's on his own, no friends. He's looking, see, look at this. This is why I'm a therapist, okay? So Pepe is here and he's on his own. And what he's desperately looking to do is connect with people, is engage with people. But he doesn't know how, okay? Pepe is one of your targets of opportunity. Because he may look cool, calm, and collected. But really what he's thinking is, oh, please, God, somebody talk to me. I need to talk to somebody. Okay, that's what he's doing. Now, the next thing that you'll see something like this. Okay, Pepe, you can join us here, please, if you don't mind. Just step there. Perfect. Whenever you see a group of this nature, just like these guys are as well, this is called an open group. An open group of people, the psychology of the group is, we have not yet formed a norm. We've not yet built rapport. So this group is very, very open to being approached by other people. They're very happy to have somebody else come and talk to them. So this is a great group. Now this group can be just 2 people, it can be 3 people, 4, even as big as 5. But whenever you see that space, that's your group, that's your opportunity. This group will very much welcome you. That's your second target of opportunity when you go networking. Now the best group to join will be an uneven number of people where you make up the numbers. Does that make sense to everybody? Yeah? And then of course we have these guys over here. And what they are, there you go. See the way she deftly excluded me so wonderfully well. Okay, you're very good at this. So what you've got now is a closed group. So this group is in rapport. They're talking. And the very worst thing you can do if you see a group like this is do this. Hi, I'm Sean. Hi. because then everybody will go. What you're going to see from now on is you're going to see an individual, you're going to see an open group, and you'll see closed groups. Leave the closed groups alone, work with the open groups or work with the individuals. Is that okay with everyone? Yep. Great, give them a round of applause. Thank you very much, guys. Peppy, can you stay with me, please? Fantastic, great job. Mind yourselves on the stairs. Peppy stayed a little longer because what I want to do with you is the next thing is making the approach. So how do I approach somebody, okay? And actually what this is going to do is going to talk about building instant rapport, building instant trust with people. This is what I want to talk about now. So let me talk about how do we make the approach. So we see the person, we want to go talk to them. So this is Peppy, so can I ask you to come over here a second, Peppy? Now what he's doing is on his own, he's actually scanning the room. He's looking for somebody to connect with. Does that make sense? But he doesn't know how to do that himself, so I'm going to help him. I'm going to make the approach to him. Okay, so this is how you make the approach, and this is what you say. You'll come up, you'll say, smile, very important, smile. And this is what you say, may I join you? And he'll say yes. I'll say, how do you do? I'm Sean. Nice to meet you, Peppy. So that's it. May I join you? The secret is simply ask permission. The key thing about networking is never about us, it's always about the other person. But there was a number of things happened there that I'm going to explain to you, which is all about first contact, which is the third essence about building instant rapport. And that is this. First of all, if you notice the way I approached, I stood a certain distance. So what I did not do was I didn't go, "Oi." That's scary. So you shouldn't do that, right? He's a big lad, that's why I chose him, okay? So one of the things is you need to be careful about your distancing and your space. So when I ask permission, and he says yes, then I step in, how do you do? I'm Sean, okay? Now also, just give your first name. Don't say I'm Sean Kilcommons Weafer the 4th Junior, okay? No one is going to remember. So make it easier in a very distracted environment. The second thing that I want to share with you about making eye contact is eye contact. So where you look when you're engaging people. So let me just try something with Pepe. How are you? Nice to see you. How are you? Are you well? How do you feel when someone doesn't look at you when they're engaging?
It's strange.
It's strange. How do you feel?
Like he's not interested.
Ah, excellent. Like he's not interested. In human psychology, we have a rule called look to listen. So if you're not looking at me, I'm not listening to what you say. Does that make sense? So it's very important we make eye contact. Now, I don't know about you guys here in Holland, but in Ireland, where I come from, my mother always taught me that if you want to come across as honest and sincere, you should always look somebody straight in the eye. Did you do the same thing here? Yeah? Now, it's a little harder with Pep because he's a big lad, okay? But I'll try that now, okay? So welcome, said, how do you do? Nice to meet you.
Hi. Nice
you good? Sure? You don't do that. You look like a homicidal maniac. Not a good move, okay? So what we do is, that's why I picked the big ones. But why we do this is, in terms of human psychology, we have a thing called across the eye line down to the base of the chin. This is called a neutral area. So I can look at Pepe here, and we're quite engaged. But in fact, where I'm really connected is this area here. It's called a neutral zone. In human psychology, we have neutral zones. So I don't know Pepe very well, but if I put my hand on his shoulder, as a man, he's fairly okay with that. Okay? If I put my hand on his arm, however, and left it there, he'd get very uncomfortable very, very quickly. That's a zone of intimate touch. So it was very interesting when Jimmy was talking about crouching down, making yourself small, and then being able to engage and worshipping the other person. The essence of first contact is all about minimizing threat. Minimizing threat. But the thing that I like the most about this, when I'm sort of working with people, is if you notice the handshake is a powerful way of engaging people. So let me just approach Pepe again. Hi, may I join you?
Yeah, of course.
Fantastic, lovely to meet you, I'm Sean. How do you feel when you get that handshake?
That's very strange.
Strange is a polite way of putting it. Okay. So the thing about a handshake is we install an emotion in somebody with just a handshake. Okay? Just a handshake. So let's see if I can change that. Sometimes you will get a handshake like this. Someone will come in and say, hi, how are you? Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Good. You ever get those kind of handshakes? Yeah? This is a dominant handshake. Someone who gives you that handshake is actually saying, I'm in charge. I'm in control. Even unconsciously, even if they're not aware of it consciously, that's what they're saying. I am the dominant person. But if you notice when I shook hands with Pepe at the start, I said, how do you do? I'm Sean. Who have I deliberately placed in the dominant position? I've placed him in the dominant position. Why? Because what's running through his emotional systems now is, I'm safe, I'm secure, I'm in control. No threat. We build rapport. Now, if you happen to get a handshake, like the one I just showed you, so I'm going to ask Pepe to do that. I'm going to show you how to deal with that, okay? So, you're going to give me that dominant handshake. How do you do? Nice to meet you. Now, we're not doing this, okay? We're just simply saying, nice to meet you. What we've just done is we've just absolutely changed the situation so that what happens is I have reasserted my dominance in that situation. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. Ladies and gentlemen, please give Pepe a big round of applause. Thank you very much. So, first contact, networking, developing compelling business messages. All of these things are key. The next thing then is learning to develop what we call behavioral flex, the ability to adapt your personality to work with different kinds of people. Does that make sense? Would it be fair to say that you have clients of yours who don't share the same personality as you? Or you meet these people from time to time, right? Okay? Now the problem with that is that there are some people in the world that we meet that we automatically just click with. Have you got those experiences? You automatically just connect with them, yes? But then there's people that you meet that you don't automatically connect with. Have you had those experiences? Yeah? Well, let me share with you how you're going to be able to handle that. And we use a color model to help people understand how to work with different kinds of personalities. So I'm going to see if you recognize who you are in the room. So I'm going to show you a graph now. I'm going to show you some things on that graph, and I want you to choose what personality type you most like. Would that be okay with everybody? Yep. Would you be okay with that? Cool. Here we go. So, instead of seeing the world in black and white, I like you or I don't like you, we can start to see the world in glowing rainbows of colors. We can start to see a situation where actually, you know what, actually I'm quite close to that personality, I'm quite close to that personality. So if you were a red type personality, you'd be a competitive, dominant, direct, determined, strong-willed kind of person. You like to get things done, you like to do it now, you like the challenge, you like to move forward. If you're a yellow kind of person, you're a very sociable person, you love to talk. You're the kind of person that if you go into a room and there's nobody in the room, you'll talk to the wall because you just have to talk to somebody. And then if you're a green person, you're going to be a kind of a touchy-feely, more caring and sharing kind of person, more encouraging, more engaging, fabulous listeners, wonderful team members, brilliant advisors. And then if you're a blue person, you'd be kind of analytical, you'd be detailed, a little bit cautious, a bit more precise. You cross all the T's, you dot all the I's, you tick all the boxes. Now, by the way, I know some of you at the moment are going, well, actually, I'm feeling a little bit schizophrenic because I'm not just one color, yeah? But if I were to ask you to choose one color, what color would it be? So let's see what sort of a mix we have in the room. So if you are a red person, if you say you're a pretty determined, ambitious sort of individual, you like to make things happen, I'd like you to stand up, please. Please stand up if you're a red person. There you go. Fantastic. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 reds. Fantastic. Oh, another one standing up. Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much. Well done. Yellows. Let's see the yellows standing up. Look carefully at these people because they're the pate animals, man. That's what we're dealing with here. Outstanding. Very good. And our greens. Where are our greens in the room? Ooh, we got a few greens too. Quite a lot of greens. Very nice. Excellent. Thank you very much. And any blues in the room? Any blues? We have a few blues, okay. Oh, a lot of blues. Very good, interesting. Fantastic, thank you very much. I want to try a little exercise so you'll remember all this. The great thing about all the colors is all the colors have a sound. Okay, so we're going to do the sound. Is everybody okay with doing the sound? All right, just for a bit of fun after lunch, whatever. So reds, I'd like you to stand up, please. Okay, reds, you ready? We are ambitious, we are kick-ass people. So our sound is this. When I count to 3, I want you to do the following sound. Are you ready? Here's your sound. That's a red sound, baby. Rock and roll. Okay, are you ready? Now you reds, you're top of the tree. You're alpha people. Let me hear this. 1, 2, 3. Oh, we can do better than that. One more time. 1, 2, 3. Love the smell of it. Hoo-ah in the morning. Thank you. Please sit down. Wonderful. Yellows. Let's see yours. Your yellows are bright, sociable kind of people. They just love people. So here's your sound. Yay! Yay! You ready? Okay, so let's go. 1, 2, 3. Yay! Oh, that's so good. Well done. Please sit down. Fantastic. Greens. Let's see all those greens standing up there now. Fantastic. Bet you're wondering why you chose it now. Okay, here we go. The greens, this is yours. You are the friendliest of all. You're so deep, you're intimate with people. Here's your sound. Hello. 1, 2, 3. Hello. Fantastic. Well done. Please sit down. The blues are definitely not happy about this now. Blues don't do this stuff. Nobody sent me a memo. Nobody advised me this was on the agenda. But the thing about the blues is they're like the coolest color in all of the colors. Okay, so blues, I'd like you to stand up, please. Okay, you ready for your sound? Okay, coolest of all the colors. You don't do the happy, clappy stuff. Here's your sound. You ready? A. That's it. That's the blue. 1, 2, 3. Oh, wonderful. Please sit down. Thank you very much. Well done. So the thing about life is that it's not about black and white. When we're dealing with clients, it's about color. And the more we can learn to be flexible in the way we engage with people, the more powerful it becomes for us. So what we need to do is to learn how to work with color and how to develop those elements. So, once we're able to do those two things, we're able to build a very powerful rapport. You see, the secret of rapport is that people like people who are like them. So the more like someone I can adapt my behavior to be like, the more comfortable they will be with me, the less threat they will perceive, the more value they will see in the relationship. And that's what we want to do. That's what we want to create. Now, I just say the first two elements of being a high trust advisor is to get the person's attention and create access. That's about developing compelling messages and being able to network effectively. The second aspect of that is being able to make a powerful first impression, first contact. And the second thing is being able to learn to work with different personality types, because every personality type processes information differently and requires information to be delivered in different ways in order for it to be of value. Have you ever sent out proposals to clients and never ever heard from them again? Ever. Guess which color they are? Yellows. You know, the reds don't read a whole lot of information. They read little bullet points, executive summaries. I always send out executive summaries. But the yellows read nothing at all. Ever. And you know they're yellow because if you look at their email inbox, there is no email that's been opened. What they've done is they've seen the name on the email and they rang up the person saying, "Hey John, what was that email all about? Let's talk." Okay? That's what happens. So if you send them written information, it never gets looked at. Here's what you do in future. Tell them that, let me come round, I'll present and read the proposal to you, and then we'll go for lunch. Woohoo! Job done. That's what you do. So you learn new strategies depending on the kind of person that you're dealing with. Now when you build rapport, the next thing is to master the conversation. There's only one way to master conversations, ladies and gentlemen, and that is asking questions. Now the reality is most of us are not masters of questions. I mean, there is at least 6 or 7 different types of questions that you can use in order to control a conversation. There are open questions and closed questions, which most of you will be familiar with. But there are also tag questions, state and stall questions, double-bind and preferential questions, exploratory questions, convincer questions, values elicitation questions, where a master of communication and persuasion will be familiar with all of those. And any high-trust advisor knows exactly how to maintain and hold attention. Let me share a couple of those with you. Most of you will be familiar with open and closed questions. So the open questions tend to be how, what, where, why, when, and who. Would you be familiar with those? The problem with those questions, however, is you tend to get very general answers. So how many people need to be at the meeting? Oh, 2 or 3. When would you like to make a start? Oh, next week or the week after. Is that the kind of thing that happens? Not sure if that translates as well into Dutch, but I think you understand what I'm saying. How do you make those questions all the more powerful? Very simple. You add a single word, and that word is specifically. When specifically would you like to meet? Oh, next Tuesday at 3 a.m. or 3 p.m. How many people specifically need to be at the meeting? When specifically would you see yourself retiring? Set a specific date. By asking that question, what happens is it removes all the confusion, it removes all the ambiguity, and what happens is you're dealing with facts. In any situation where you do not have absolute facts, that's going to come back and cause you a problem. There must be absolute clarity in your dealings with people. And learning to use the question specifically is one of the ways in which we can qualify that in a very powerful way. Now, another question which I'll just share with you is called an exploratory question, which is a question that can get you out of trouble sometimes. I don't know whether you've ever had a situation where you're in a meeting and then the client sort of just says something at you. They just throw something out, make a statement or ask a question, and you're caught off balance. Have you ever had that experience? Where you go, whoa, where did that come from? Ever had that situation? Well, how you deal with that is you ask the following question. You say, how do you mean? How do you mean? Now, in English, grammatically, that question would be wrong. Because what we would say, or what most people would tend to say is, what do you mean? The problem is if you say, what do you mean? They'll say, well, what I just said. What, are you deaf? You didn't hear me? But if you ask the question, how, what that does is it causes the person to go in and listen to their psychology. And they'll work out the answer, or they'll reinterpret the question. So you've had time to think about it as well. So you're back in control of the meeting. So these are just two simple questions that you can use as a means of controlling the outcomes of any meeting. But any high trust advisor needs to be a master of the conversation. And these are skills you can learn. And when you learn them, you will be in the top 2% of people in your profession, in any profession, who know not just to communicate with people, but to connect with them, involve them, and engage them at a deep level. People that they truly trust above everybody else. Sixth element of this is creating winning presentations. So if you do presentations, or you do proposals, one of the issues with this, remember, we have a very limited attention span. So a great way, how many of you do formal presentations to clients, to groups of people? Not too many. How many of you do written presentations that you give to people? Yeah? Okay, let me focus on that one then. If you do written presentations, how many of you talk about your business at the start? Who we are, what we do, how long we've been around? Yeah? Most of you do that? Okay, nobody cares. Nobody's interested. No one's going to go through it. There's only one thing they're interested in, and that is, what can you do for me? So the traditional presentation is who we are, how we do things, and then what we'll do for you. People do not have the attention or the interest to wade through all the stuff about you. You don't matter. What matters is what you do for me. So whenever you start a presentation, any presentation, whether it's written or it's in a spoken way, always start with what you will have when we are done. And if you can give them that in a powerful and simple way, then what will happen is the next question they will ask because they're now involved in the process, is how can you do that for me? And then the last part is almost immaterial. Why would I use you? They know why. They know what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. I'm sold. You had me at what? But most of us don't do that. So go back and look at your presentations, reformat them, and give them right up on that front page what you're going to do. I worked with HSBC Bank a couple of years ago in Dublin. And I was speaking about this thing, and one guy stood up and said, we, the very senior investor came in last week, did exactly that thing. We started to talk about HSBC Bank. He stood up and said, I don't care. Tell me what you can do. I'm busy. And when they realized that they switched their presentations around, guess what? They got more interest, more action, more deals. So think about that when you're working with your clients. I have a couple of minutes left, so let me finish with the last part very briefly. Anybody who wishes to be a high trust advisor has got to have high goals, not just for themselves, but for their clients. They've got to want to serve. They want to synergize. They want to advise. They want to collaborate. They want to cooperate in creating the life of their dreams. But I would suggest to you that actually one of the skills you need to learn is to help people how to set goals before you talk about the financials. Help them to paint a picture. Help them to sit down and decide, what is that future going to look like? And you yourself need to do it for you too. How many of you have got written goals, actually for your future and your life? A few, but not many. The way the brain works is that it only works if it's given a task, if it knows exactly what it wants to do and why. Now here's the key thing about setting goals. We call it the 6 C's of performance. The first part is context. What's going on in your environment? How many of you are reacting to life instead of being proactive? If you want to change that, you need to have clarity. And clarity are goals. Clarity is not just what you want to do, but why. Give me a reason, give me an emotion, give me a power to drive this and make it happen. The third C is control, which is about the actions that you need to do today to make that happen. All big goals start with small steps. The smaller the step and the more there are, the sooner you'll get to the goal. So make them small, because guess what happens? Once you have control and clarity, you'll have confidence. If your confidence is strong, you'll find your communication, your ability to engage others, to convince clients to work with you and rather anybody else, will go through the roof. And so ultimately, the last C, which is competence, performance, will always, always be at the top of its game. The concept of working with a high-trust advisor, ladies and gentlemen, is no longer optional. And in the short time I've had with you, hopefully I've helped you understand some of the things you need to reconsider in your business. How do I get access? How do I get their attention? How do I build powerful rapport? And then how do I manage those outcomes? So, I want to thank you for your time. I want you to wish you the very, very best of luck. And between now and this conference next year, may you have a fantastic year. Thank you very much.